Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Kyo Daiken, and in today's video we are going to cover memory cards and data storage options, preferably the Retropie. But if you guys have a drone, a GoPro, or whatever the use you may have in your own hobby or community where you're using memory cards or data storage options, hopefully you can get something out of this review. One of the reasons why I wanted to cover this is because there's been a lot of misinformation and things going on more or less likely in the Retropie community, but I wanted to cover this again. I did cover this topic about 2 years ago, and a lot of you really took that information to heart because this video is primarily going to be not so much about a lot of the information that the cards provide, but I'm going to talk to you about from a consumer standpoint and what my uses have been and my experiences have been with a lot of the memory cards on the market for what I use them for. As you guys know, I have a drone, I have a GoPro, I have Retropie. So those are a lot of the things that primarily I use the memory cards for. I've noticed things with data transfer rates and the different performances and how they hold up among different electronic devices. So stay tuned, let's go ahead and get into this review, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. So one of the things that I've noticed that has been going on in the communities, even though I did my video about 2 years ago, there are a lot of people, preferably into this subject I'm going to cover first, a lot of people are still using cheap memory cards for Retropie devices, using them for different images. And I can tell you that there is a huge performance difference between a number of memory cards and things that you have or possibly will experience. So starting from the front line, I'm going to cover some of the memory cards that I personally use and what you guys can expect to use primarily right now for Retropie and some other electronic devices. Starting here in the front, this is a regular Sandisk. This is an A1 memory card. This is a 200 gigabyte memory card. I've had this in increments of 32, 64, and 128. I still have a few of those left around, but this is the 200 gigabyte card. So we'll cover that, the specs a little bit later. In the front here, I have two of the Sandisk Extreme cards here. These are ultra fast. I primarily use these for my GoPro. I use them for my DJI drone. These are the only cards I really use for DJI Pro or the drone. Obviously, there are some more higher end cards, but this one really does the trick for me and does the work. So I have 64 gigabytes, 128, and also a 256, all in those increments. And at the front, we have our Samsung memory cards. You guys know I love these. These are the ones that are A3 rated, of course. I have these in increments from 32 gigs all the way up to 256 for these memory cards. These cards have never failed me. These three here, I love them. They work wonders for me, trust me. In the front here, we have three USB sticks. I'm using these right now for some builds I'm doing or images I'm using for Supreme Ultra on the Pi 4. As you guys know, that now you can use a USB stick with that. This one here on the left doesn't work. This is a 128 gigabyte PNY. This one does not work for Retropie that I've tried. Now, there is a specific way where you can code Retropie to work with different SD cards or memory sticks, but honestly, it's a whole lot easier just going to the store and buying the one that's compatible. This is a Sandisk. This is a basic 128. I have Pistolero on here. This is the light gun image on this card. This one works by default. We'll cover that one in a little bit. And then, of course, this is another PNY. This is a 256. This one retails for about 49 bucks. Picked it up at Best Buy. Really good stick to use for performance and everything. All these devices back here, from the USB to all these are all fine. I mean, these are a little different. You won't have as many applications you can use them for because of what they are. But all these are fine as far as different speeds and performances. I'll get into that a little bit later. Over here, This is the Samsung T3 250 gigabyte SSD external drive. I bought this several years ago. They don't even make these anymore, but it has a real decent speed on it, so I definitely keep that one around. This one here is your Samsung T5. This is a 500 gigabyte. I do have a PC image. It's a portable emulation station build. I am building on these two. I had to get a backup, but these work fine. They have awesome speeds on here. The speed on the T5 is, I think it's a 500 megabyte transfer rate on the Samsung T5, so that one works really good. And then of course we have another bad boy right here. This is the Samsung T7 500 gigabyte model here. This one has a 1000 gigabyte and 1000 gigabyte read and write speed. This is one of the fastest speeds that you can currently use on Retropie. And then of course this has my Venom image on here for Supreme Ultra. I swear by this device. In fact, when I do my tests to help out the developers and let them know how fast equipment is, or how equivalent, or how fast their image is and really working, you have to test it with the best equipment on the market, or else you're not going to really know what it does. And I've seen a number of reviews out there where people are using equipment that I wouldn't consider reputable for a test, because it really doesn't do it justice if you're showing an image or build and you're not using optimal equipment to give people the best possibility of what it can and cannot do. So this is the Samsung T7 1 terabyte. I believe now you can get these for $169. So, and then of course here, this is a SSD. This is the Nespe case cartridge. So this has a regular SSD in here. I have I think it's a 128 or a 256 gigabyte SSD in here. So I just have this up here for display purposes. You guys can check the read and write speed on that. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about in the community is the experiences that I've had with each one of these. Which one do I personally prefer based on my own experience, and what you can expect from each one of these memory cards. So I do have the website here from Amazon, Best Buy. We're going to get elbow deep into a lot of the topics today. I'm sorry, a lot of the cards today, and we're just going to kind of cover each one at a time. So the first one we have, starting here at the front, we're going to take a look at the regular Sandisk memory card. So the first card up, we have the 256 gigabyte A1 10 rated Ultra Sandisk Plus memory card. I do believe there is a cheaper model, but this is the one that I'm really familiar with that is used. And I'm just going to be flat out honest with you guys. I honestly do not like this card, and I don't like the performance. The last time that I did a video on a Sandisk Ultra card, if you guys could see me scrolling left to right using the menu screen, there was a huge delay in the menu in terms of how long it took the menu to actually fully show up on the screen. If you're scrolling left to right really fast on some of the themes, and I believe the theme I was using was the Soda Pop theme for Retropie, there was a huge delay in it in terms of how long it would take to show on the screen. Aside from that, most of the images that I've used on this particular, or when I transfer it, it takes quite a long time, and I don't like the performance of it. Some of the problems that I've had for the Sandisk brand, whether they've been, well, actually that's another thing. So some of the problems that I've had is the higher up you get with a memory card, the more, I guess you could say, unstable it tends to get. If you're going to use a 256 gigabyte card, or if you're going to use a 512 or any 12 or anything higher than a 128, I would personally go with the Samsung Evo or something a little bit faster. This particular card, I believe it has a let's see, it has a 130 megabyte read speed, and it has a, let me see if I find it here. I want to find the actual write speed. All right, so apparently this particular memory card doesn't even tell you the read speed. I'm sorry, not the read speed, but it doesn't tell you the write speed for this particular memory card. Now that's pretty odd because the rest of the cards that I do have here on display, it does tell you the maximum read and write speed of the memory card. So that's a little questionable right there. So I started using a memory card like this for the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, and those were just some of the differences that I've noticed as far as performance. Was load time. How long would it take me to scroll left and right to the, scrolling through the menu, scrolling through the different games that's on a Retropie device, and also scrolling through some of the games as far as having the snaps load. Please keep in mind that just because you are using a memory card or lower end memory card, all the snaps and video artwork on there is subject to something else. So if you are using a memory card, then yeah, to play Atari games, Nintendo and stuff like that, you probably won't see this issue. But where you will start to see problems with a lower end memory card for a Retropie build is video snaps. If you guys have seen the video snaps where the screen is usually turning green, how long it takes the screens or the menus to load up. And then of course you'll notice obviously how long it takes you to transfer games over to your memory card. That sometimes could take you guys all day depending upon the size that you have, especially if you're transferring Daphne ROMs or some of the other games that are in high gigabyte files. But preferably, I do have a memory card like this. I don't like it. This is, I don't prefer it. The only reason why I bought a card like this was because it was cheap at the time. This particular card, I believe at the time it cost me about 49 bucks. And at the time, this was probably the biggest card you could get for the cheapest possible cost. But if this is something you guys want to invest your money in, that's fine by me. But I'm just letting you know, this is something that I would steer clear from as far as this particular type of brand that has the 10 on it. A1 and says Sandisk Ultra Plus. You will suffer in terms of memory performance, or actually storage performance, when you're surfing through your memory menus and your transfer speeds. But before I go into that, there's something else I definitely want to show you guys. This is, I'm going to pull it up here. When I first started working in the Retropie community, this was back in 2018. Keep in mind, I already had a lot of information and was experienced with a lot of the SD cards. But, I did look at a number of channels and figured, well, maybe they've been around the scene a little bit longer than me. So maybe they're recommending these cards because maybe they know something about Retropie that I don't. And unfortunately, I listened to them and I ordered a number of these cards on Amazon Prime Day in 2018. And I can tell you this is one of the worst cards that you could possibly buy on the market. The Sandisk Ultra, the ones that you typically get from Amazon, 128 gigabyte, rated a 10. Now, please ignore the fact that whatever they say here, as I've said, every memory card is not created equal. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I'm going to show you guys one of the top-end memory cards that is out on the market. And I want to show you guys something that they have in writing here. We're going to take a look at, let me see if this is the right one. This is the Sony Tough 80 gigabyte memory card. These cards start at around 200 bucks and go all the way up to $400. And there is something here that they also say here, and on one of their particular memory cards, which isn't listed anywhere else. Over time, media flash memory cards wears out and no longer reliable records data. Sony's media scan utility automatically scans your CFF Express Type A memory card each time you connect it to your PC, keeping you informed of its condition so you can take action before the limit is reached. The MRW-G2 card reader is required in order to scan Sony CF Express Type A memory cards. This particular type of memory card is what a lot of YouTubers use if you're recording in 4K, 8K, or any type of high bit rate data. This is what is used if you're also recording 4K 60 frames, 1080p, 60 frames per second. These are the kind of memory cards if you're going to use for something like that. However, please keep in mind that a lot of you who are flying drones or GoPro, these are the cards that you typically want to get, not so much in this format because you need a smaller one, but in terms of quality, the speed, being able to use your device, this is something that you want to use for those type of devices. So the reason why I brought that up is because we're going to go back here to this cheap low-end memory card. And one of the things that I've had experiences with this memory card is I burned a number of images to these cards. And in some cases, I think I only maybe burned a couple of images to them. And my personal experience with this card, they completely failed on me. I mean, I'm not saying I wrote 20 images to this and deleted them and then wrote, no. Probably 1 or 2 images. And then one day I woke up, decided to turn my Retropie device on, and it just failed. Just quit on me. And so I'm bringing this up now. I don't have any more of these because I got rid of them because they're nothing but a bunch of crap. But I want to show you guys something here that was listed in the comments in regards to this particular this memory card. And so as I was scrolling too, somebody else had the exact same issue. Does anyone know if this card comes with any kind of warranty? Ours stopped for no reason. The tablet can't read it anymore. And I've had this same thing happen with this particular memory card. And so one of the things that I've noticed is that people are still recommending cheap low-end memory cards for Retropie devices or Retropie images. And they have no idea how every image is made. You don't know what's running in the background. If you don't understand who made the image in terms of who made the base, you can't truly recommend what something it needs to run in terms of its optimum performance. I know that most of the images that I have tested, I usually test a lot of the Supreme builds that are out there, but I'm only testing those with the best equipment that is out there on the market. So that way, when I do a review, you guys are seeing the best possible speeds, the best possible performances, the lack of hiccups that are possibly you're having with. And one of the questions or comments that we typically see in the forum is, well, how come mine is running slow? Or how come mine is doing this? Or how come mine is doing that? And if we go back to the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, I mean, I know we have the Raspberry Pi 4 now, but you know, as much as we were trying to overclock and everybody was trying to overclock to get the better speeds, the memory cards were always a bottleneck. So you figure the top end memory cards at this time, roughly, we'll say the Sandisk Ultras, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. The Sandisk Ultras, those have about 130 megabyte or actually 170 megabyte read or write speed, I believe, on those particular memory cards. So there is a difference between using a regular SD card now versus using something that has the USB 3.0. There is a difference, but it didn't matter if you overclocked, is my point. It didn't matter if you overclocked your Raspberry Pi 3B Plus back in the day or even now, because the memory cards, even though these are the ones I recommend, they still represent a bottleneck. So all that overclocking you're doing on a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus is totally pointless and fruitless when you have a bottleneck. And that's the same reason what has happened in the PC community as the reason why the newer consoles and then the PC community in general, why they're getting away from the 7200 RPM hard drives. And now they're going to PCI Express 4.0. That's why they're getting away from it, because you're not ever going to get the true optimal performance if you're overclocking one little piece of hardware and you have that bottleneck. Moving on. The next memory card we're going to take a look at is the Sandisk Ultra. So let's go ahead and pull that one up. It's one of my favorites. And so here we have, this is the other one I have here, the Sandisk Ultra 128 gigabyte memory card. And yes, this one has a read speed of 170 megabytes and it has a write speed of 90 megabytes. Now, as much as I love my Samsung Evo cards, these actually outperform these, and these are the reasons why. I've always noticed this. I've never used any of the Samsung Evos it's just some of the things that, you know, when you have equipment, you could play around with it and you just happen to notice a difference. I mean, you don't really have a measuring stick to really measure, you know, the speed or performance. But I've only used these particular cards, this one here, for my GoPros and also my DJI Phantom drones. And just a little bit of history about the DJI series. Back in the day, if you used a cheap memory card in one of the drones, the system would tell you kick it out because we can't read this, it's too slow. I believe they did make a change to that because when I first ordered my drone, they sent me a basic 16 gig memory card and it said, sorry, you can't use this card, it's too slow. So there is a huge difference here with the read and write speed. With the Sandisk Extreme, I've never had any problems with this. Actually, most of the builds that I have worked on or played around with, I do test this one on. And then also too, when you're getting a memory card like this, you are able to write to it more times than something that is extremely cheap, like this piece of crap right over here. Definitely don't recommend this. I don't understand why people post Amazon links for cards like this. Probably because they're an affiliate and they're just trying to get the most bang for their buck. But I am telling you that these cards are not recommended. Here comes another card here. Not this one, but I want to show you guys while I have it here in front of me. This is the Micro Center memory card that is sold on Amazon.com. This is a 512 3 rated 10 memory card. But there's something very questionable about this type of memory card. This is a Micro Center Premium 512 gigabyte UHS flash memory card. Now, in comparison, over here we have the Sandisk Extreme 512 A2 memory card. There's a reason why this one is originally priced at $229, currently on sale for $149, versus something that goes for over here at $59.99. And again, as I stated earlier in my video, there's a reason why memory cards are not created equal. If you want to buy a card like this and just use it in terms of size and storing documents, you are okay to do that. But when you start factoring in pictures, videos, 4K videos, videos that have a higher bit rate. So let's say if you're watching a 4K or 1080p video, you don't know if it's rendered at either a higher bit rate or a lower bit rate. A lot of the videos that I upload sometimes are in the either a high bit rate or a medium bit rate, which means that even though it's the same video and it's rendered at 1080p or 4K, there's more information there in that video, and the size of that file, let's say if I have a video that is a high bit rate, it could be 1 gig. And versus a medium bit rate, that could bring it down to about maybe 500 megabytes. And it takes longer for the video or the information to play back on that type of device, whatever you're using, whether it's a tablet or a Retropie device. But I just said all that to say this. There's a reason why this card is $59 and this card over here sells for $149. It has better durability. It has a better lifespan. You're able to write to it a little bit more than the other one. And it's not going to fail on you over time. Now, every memory card does have that ability to fail eventually, but from a sustainability standpoint and over time, this type of card, because it's a higher grade material, will last you a lot longer and not going to mess up your data as opposed to a card like this or a card like this. And I've already had all 4 of these fail on me after reading. In fact, I wasn't even writing or anything. I just used it and it completely failed on me, just like you guys read in the comments. Next memory card we're going to take a look at here are the Samsung Evos. Now, these are my favorites. We're going to take a look at those really quick. These are the red ones here in the front. All right, so here is a Samsung Evo Plus. This is a 3 rated card. This card here is probably the best bang for your buck in terms of mid-range price and performance. I have a number of these cards. I've absolutely loved them. These cards actually went up in price right before COVID. Normally these were $19.99. They went back up to $27.99, which is really unfortunate, but hopefully they come back down. These are a little bit slower than the Sandisk Ultra. So these have a 100 megabyte read speed and a 60 megabyte write speed. I don't remember the time frame that it takes me to read or write a standard base to these memory cards, but I have cards that I've used, or the same memory cards, the 128 gigabyte Evos, and I can tell you, since I've been using them since 2018, they all still work. And if you guys have seen the number of builds that I've shown on my channel, you guys have no idea. Well, for example, the Venom image for Supreme Ultra, I've probably deleted and had to rewrite an image about 20 times on that. So can you imagine how many images I've written to one of these 128 gigabyte Samsung Evo cards? At least 40 to 50. And on one particular memory card, I could tell you that it's never failed on me. I still have it. It still works. And I've not noticed any degradation in quality using any one of these memory cards. And degradation means that after time, how many times I read and write to it, maybe it get a little bit slower. But I have never suffered any performance difference on any of these Samsung memory cards whatsoever. Again, I don't use this particular memory card for any of my drone videos, or also for 4K. Another thing I do want to let you guys know is that when you do use a Sandisk Ultra, let me see if I have it here, not that one, the Sandisk Extreme Plus, these faster memory cards, if you're playing back your video footage directly on your PC, you're not going to get that stuttering effect. I do have cheaper memory cards where I've used it, played it directly on my computer, and they were in 4K format, 40K, 30 frames per second, and some of my computer programs would not play back any of that footage with this with a cheaper end memory card without having that stuttering effect. I could play the 4K 60 frame or 4K 30 frame per second video with this particular memory card and not suffer any of these issues playing it back directly from the memory card. So that's another thing that I've noticed there. So we'll go back. And then, of course, these Samsung Evo Selects are also good as well. I personally have never bought one of these because I've been happy with the red ones, but I know a lot of you in the community have these cards and have never had any issues with them. And another thing, too, is I definitely want to make sure I mention is the reason why a lot of cards were cheap end memory cards were really being pushed maybe about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, because they were expensive. I mean, a card like this would normally cost you about 80 bucks back in the day, but now there's really no excuse. And, you know, all these cards are really affordable, you know, for what you get. But there's definitely something to be said as to why a memory card or cost you a little bit more for what you're using it for now. All right, so we're going to move away from the memory cards now, and we're going to take a look at the USB drives. Now, I don't have a lot to say about the USB drives. These are USB 3.0 memory cards. Obviously, these are new primarily to Retropie. These are the ones that I am building images off of. These do have a read and write speed of about 250 to 400. I know this one has a 400 megabyte read and write speed, I believe. It did make me a little upset because I got a little spoiled with the T7 because I was trying to write an image and I was like, man, why is it taking 5 or 6 minutes to write a 27 gigabyte build when this did it in 1 minute and 36 seconds. So these are all great, so you guys can't go wrong with that. But I will also tell you, moving from an SD card to either the USB stick or the Samsung SSDs, you will notice a performance difference in gameplay. And so that's really disheartening when I see other reviewers pushing lower end equipment, because I can tell you, I didn't post a video about it, but months ago when I did test the Sandisk T7s, when I was playing GoldenEye, I noticed that I didn't have as much lag as I did playing certain parts of the game as I did with SD cards. And so keep in mind, all the memory cards, the SD cards, they do have a bottleneck. I haven't noticed any performance differences or which one I would personally recommend over the SD card or how fast you really need, so you don't see that. But the 250 or 450 gigabytes, 450 megabytes, I'm sorry, read and write speed should be fine for you. Even though you're not writing while you're playing Retropie, but the read speed should be fine, so you guys can get that performance difference on your SD cards. So that's what I've noticed when I was playing GoldenEye. I really haven't noticed it too many other games, but if you guys want to try that to see what type of performance increases you get, that will be a big help. If you do want to just get one of these for performances, and I mean, it probably is overkill, but again, I like to test things just to know exactly what I'm getting myself into while using these. So again, this is the Samsung T3. They don't make these anymore. I believe the read and write speed on this one, actually, I don't remember. It's been, because I bought this one several years ago. It's pretty handy. This is the Samsung T5. This one has, I think it's a 500 gigabyte read and write speed on here. I highly recommend any one of these. You won't have any performance issues with these at all. And then, of course, these are the bad boys, the Samsung T5, I'm sorry, the Samsung T7s and the 500 gigabyte. And this one is 1 terabyte. Over here, these have a 1 gigabyte read and write speed transfer. It would take me 20 if I was to write a 27 gigabyte base image to either one of these. This will take me about 1 minute and 36 seconds. I did transfer about 300 gigabytes worth of ROMs and data in my entire ROM pack, which is comprised of, I would say, most of the games you can play on Pi 4. Probably taking me about a good hour and 40 minutes. Whereas if I was using a SD card, that would have taken me all day. So you guys will definitely see the performance in any one of these drives. Again, if you're planning on using any of these memory cards for data storage purposes, all little documents and notes, all of those are fine. But please keep in mind that these are the devices that I personally use, that I have personally tested, that have given me the best possible results. And if I'm a reviewer, the reason why I don't review a lot of images, or even if I do, I want to make sure that I'm using the best possible technology to give you guys the best results and showcase your images, showcase your builds, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're using something that's really subpar like this down here, and you start saying, hey, I'm having problems, or it's kind of hiccupy or a little bit laggy. That's not right to the builder. That's not right to the image maker. And it's not really good for the community if you're communicating these things and not testing it with the best possible equipment that's out there on the market. Now, last but not least, we do want to touch on the M.2 drives. Now, you can get an M.2 adapter to use for Retropie. These are the newer ones that are going in. I believe these are going to be used for the Xboxes and the new PS5s that are coming out. But primarily, this is the new PCI Express 4.0 memory card sticks. I'm sorry, not memory card sticks, but the M.2 drives for your computer. And then, of course, if you get the adapter, you can use these for Retropie as well. These are super crazy, super fast, and definitely overkill. I believe all of these have a read and write speed of about 3,000 and up. Let's double check and take a look at that. Take a look at the performance of it. This one has a read speed of 6,900 megabytes. So this is extremely overkill. This is much faster than the Samsung T7s. I don't know if the bottlenecks, if there will be a bottleneck if you use an adapter going from USB 3.0 on the Retropie device, but this is extremely overkill. This is using a let's see here. You do have okay, so yeah, it's giving you 2 times because I do know that the PCI Express 3.0 has a 3,000 gigabyte read and write speed. So you're definitely going to get some speed. So again, this is extremely overkill. You don't need an adapter to get something like this for storage devices, but this is an additional option. I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out to you guys, as well as some other drives here as well. You do have the regular Samsung 860 Pro. Most of these, I believe, have a read and write speed. So after double checking, yeah, this one has a read and write speed of roughly of about 560 megabytes. So that's pretty standard. I mean, I would still personally go with the Samsung T7, which is a lot faster. But hopefully, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I did this review. Again, I did this, I posted something like this a couple years ago, and a lot of you found it really informative. But I just wanted to give you guys my 2 cents as far as all the memory cards that I use, all the data storages, possible options as far as their read and write speeds, as far as what I use. Again, we're going from Sandisk Ultras to Samsung Evos, and then of course I have my my Samsung T7s back here. These are my favorite right now. And then of course you have your standard USB drives. Also too, I love this because it has the cable to it, so it extends from the Retropie device. These can be a little bit of a hassle because you're plugging it directly into the unit, so if you bump something or whatever, it's sticking right out. But I love the Samsung SSDs, or any other type of SSDs. You guys don't have to get Samsungs. These are just my favorite, but you can get some of the other SSDs that are out there on the market. Those are just my favorite. But either one of these devices here will give you guys exactly what you need. I just wanted to make sure that I put the information out there based upon my experience writing and deleting as many images as possible from some of these, and which ones really hold up to the test. If you guys think that, if you guys are operating on limited funds, I definitely understand that, as far as possibly going with a cheaper option, such as this particular card here, or if you're going to go with one of the other cheaper SD cards that are out there like this. Whatever's in your pocketbook, but please keep in mind, if you are going to be in this hobby, you're going to have to fork out some money, and stuff ain't cheap. All right, this is Keo Daikin. Hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial. I'll catch you guys later. You guys have a good evening.